Hello, my dear students. How are you? I miss you so much. Welcome to our new lesson. Today, inshallah, we're going to start a new grammar lesson. It's called conditionals. طبعا you took the conditionals before, all of them this year, the first, the second, the third, and also the mixed conditionals. Now, I need you to remind me of the conditionals. Zero conditional. Who can remind me of the zero conditional? Let's have a look at this example. If you split an atom, you release vast amounts of energy. So, what is this conditional? It is the zero one. Who can tell me the form of the zero conditional? So, I asked one of the students as a kind of reminding the students of the lesson they took before. One of the students, of course, will tell me, and it's if plus present simple and present simple. So I'll ask another student, okay, guys, now, thank you so much, my dear. Now, who can tell me when do we use the zero conditional? Yes, we use the zero conditional to express facts. So, the zero conditional, the form is if plus present simple, and the second sentence or the main clause we use present simple also. For example, if you heat water to 100 degrees, it boils. When you heat water, it boils. Here, if equal when, so we can replace if using when. Right, let's go to the first conditional. When do we use the first condition? Let's have a look at this example together. First conditional. Let's have a look at this example. If you study biology, you'll learn about plant and animal life. If you study, who can tell me the form? You will learn. Yes, thank you so much. It's if plus present simple, and the main clause we use will plus infinitive, which is the simple future. So this is the form of the first conditional. When do we use it? The first conditional. If clause, if plus present simple, and the main clause will or can or could or might. So will or can or could or may or might plus bare infinitive. We use the first conditional to talk about the results of an action or situation that will probably happen now or in the future. If you mix the wrong chemicals, the experiment won't work. We can also use an imperative in the main clause. For example, if you want to learn something, watch a documentary. So we use the first conditional, if plus present simple and will plus infinitive, to talk about things that are probably or likely happen in the future. So we use the first conditional to express or to talk about things that will probably or likely happen now or in the future. Let's quickly go to the second conditional. This is quick revision, guys, before we start the new part. The second conditional, it's who can tell me? Let's have a look at the example before you tell me. It's if science could answer all of our questions, the world would be a very different place. Who can remind me of the second conditional? Yes, my dear, thank you so much. It's past. It's if plus past tense. With the main clause we use would or could or might plus bare infinitive. طب when do we use the second conditional, guys? It's a little bit confusing. طبعا we use the second conditional also to express present or future. So what is the difference between the first conditional and the second conditional? And now we use the second conditional to express or to talk about things or a situation that's unlikely to happen now or in the future. But this is the main difference. If I'm talking about things that will probably happen, we use the first conditional. But if I'm talking about things which are unlikely to happen in the present or the future, we use the second conditional. So, for example, if I knew the answer, I would solve the problem, which means then I don't know the answer, so I can't solve it. We also use it to express or talk about a situation that's impossible to happen in the present. Like, for example, if I had lots of money, I would donate it to science. Or if I had a lot of money, I would buy a car. Wish me, guys, wish me luck. I really need to buy a car. So these are things which are impossible to happen, which means that I don't have enough money. I can't donate it to science. We can also use the second conditional to give advice, guys. We use the second conditional to give advice. For example, if I were you, I packed that invitation. If I were you, that's impossible, guys. I'm not you. I'm just giving you some piece of advice. So I say, if I were a bird, I would fly. If I were a doctor, I would help you, and so on. So we can use the second condition to give advice or to make impossible wishes, as we said. Like, for example, if the professor were here, he would set up the equipment properly, which means the professor isn't here and he can't set, so he can set. So I just need you to take a note or remember in the second conditional we use where with all subjects. Say, like for example here I said if I were you, I didn't say I was, I said I were. If the professor were here, I didn't say the professor was, I said the professor were, which means we use where for all persons and all pronouns and all subjects, I mean singular or plural. So we use the second conditional to talk about a situation which is unlikely to happen now in the future, to talk about impossible something, an impossible situation in the present, to talk to give advice, and or to and we use where for all subject pronouns or for all subjects, singular or plural. Now guys, let's go to the third conditional. The third conditional, have a look at the example. I'm sure it's the longest one and the only one that expresses past. If Albert Einstein hadn't become a scientist, he would have been a teacher instead. So from the form, or from this example, you can tell me the form, guys. Who can tell me the form of the third conditional? Yeah, it's if plus past perfect لو had plus past participle, and the main clause we use would or could or might have plus past participle. طب when do we use the third conditional? We use the third conditional to talk about events or situations in the past that could happen but didn't. There are always hypothetical because we can't change the past. Like for example, if he had invented it first, he would have become very rich, which means he didn't invent it at first and he didn't become very rich. So this didn't happen. I'm talking about things which didn't happen in the past, hypothetical situation in the past. Another example here, we could have filmed the experiment if we had had a video camera, which means we didn't or we couldn't film it because we didn't have a video camera. The third conditional, we use it, guys, to express or to talk about an action in the past that could have happened, but it didn't. It could have happened, but it didn't. Like, for example, when I say, if Omar had studied hard, he would. If Omar had studied hard, he would have answered well in yesterday's exam, which means he didn't study hard and he didn't answer well in the exam. Now let's go to the new point for which we are reviewing all of these conditionals. The new point is the mixed condition. What do you mean by mixed conditional? We mean part of the second conditional and the part of the third conditional. It means, guys, an action happened or didn't happen in the past which affected the present. Like, for example, they would be cleaning the lab if the chemical experiment hadn't exploded. They wouldn't be cleaning the lab if the chemical experiment hadn't exploded, which means the chemical experiment had exploded in the past, so now they have to clean the lab. Are you following? So here part of the second conditional, which is would plus infinitive, and here part of the third condition. So this is the form, guys. We use if plus had plus past participle, or if plus past perfect اللي هو part of the third conditional. والmain clause بتبقى would plus infinitive or would plus present continuous زي ما احنا شايفين هنا. It's okay, fine, never mind. Now let's go to the mixed conditional. This is the new part which I want you to focus on. If plus past perfect, and the second part is would plus infinitive. A mixed conditional is where the two clauses in a conditional sentence refer to different times. We use a mixed condition to express the present result of a hypothetical past event or situation. For example, if Mark hadn't stolen his idea, Kevin would be famous now, which means Mark had stolen his idea. So now Kevin isn't famous. Are you following? Okay, who can give me more examples about the mixed condition, guys? Now I need you to give me more examples. So I'll ask the students to give me more examples. Then we will move to answer more questions about the conditionals, as you can see here. Of course, I prefer when I give the students any exercise that they answer it in pairs or in small groups. I never ask students to answer individually except it's a quiz or a writing or whatever. So here I divide the class into pairs to answer exercise C. Then I divide them into groups of 3 or 4, depends on the number of the students in the class, to answer, for example, exercise D and so on. And more groups to answer exercise E and so on. So I send them to breakout rooms and ask them to answer, give them a certain time. For example, you have 3 minutes to answer exercise E in groups of 3, and I send them to the breakout rooms to check on. Then I go through the rooms to check on the students, how they are doing. Then I end the breakout rooms, or I set a certain time. When they return, I give them the correct answers, or I ask them to give them to me to tell me the answers. Then we correct them together, and that's it for a grammar lesson. More questions طبعا, that depends on their course book or on the material provided. And that's all for this short demo. Hope you like it. I'm waiting for your feedback. Thank you so much. Goodbye.